me.
Oh my gosh. I feel everyone must say this to you, but I feel like everything I see all the time is now in real life. So you guys are incredible. I'm super honored.
I feel the same way. That's what social media does. It's super weird, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like it is so crazy when you follow someone and you watch them, you know the way they talk and you know their body language and all of that, that you feel like you actually know them. And the crazy thing is we've never met you before, but once
I didn't know this.
I know once we almost crossed paths with you, I saw you from a distance and we were literally on our way out and you were on our way in. And I think it was LA and I think it was last year. And we went to the conference we weren't at the conference, but we went to interview someone that was at the
Lewis.
Yeah. Yep.
Lewis House.
Was it Lewis? So I think
Lewis.
Ed Milet. Was it Ed Milet?
Not Lewis, Ed.
Yeah. Okay. I was sitting in the lobby because I was giving a keynote for Teddy Mellencamp's event, right?
Yeah.
Yes. And I saw you guys with Ed Milet and I'm like, oh, I was all excited. And then I think you guys were flying out right away, or you were catching a flight. We never met.
We were going there for something else, but we wanted to interview Ed. Ed was like, I'm at this conference. I can get a room. You guys come. We'll do the podcast. And then we left. We weren't a part of the conference, but as we were leaving, he went up and walked to you. And I was like, oh, there she is. But then you guys were talking and you were about to head in and we were leaving. And so that was it.
Ed's so great, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just met him recently. I've listened to his stuff for a long time. And he's incredible. Like incredible.
Oh, where are you right now?
LA.
In Los Angeles.
So you are there like some people left for COVID and they just didn't stay, but you're there and you're great and everything's good.
Yeah, I feel like everyone's moving right now out of California, like heading to all different places, Nashville, Austin, Florida. Wow. I'm here. I'm in Cali. Here.
We need to introduce you because we haven't introduced you yet. It's so exciting to meet you. And I love that you listen to Ed too. Like, do you even need to listen to anybody else? Are you not everyone's inspiration? Could you please, your name is Jamie Kern Lima. Can you tell us, for anybody who doesn't know who you are, for every woman that's listening to this, guys, you need to know who this woman is. Can you tell us just who you are and what you do?
Of course. So first and foremost, I'm a Cat Nat fan. And I think, I think if you Google my story, the first thing you see is I founded a company called It Cosmetics. Went from Denny's waitress to launching a dream and spent the first 3 years thinking it was going to work and kind of hearing no and being rejected hundreds of times from all the big beauty retailers, and kind of went through this 3-year season where I didn't know if our company was going to make it. I started it with my husband in our living room. And then eventually got some yeses and kind of went on this 10-year journey of building It Cosmetics. So right now, as we're talking together live, it's the largest makeup company, luxury makeup company in the country, which is crazy. In the US because it almost didn't make it for so many years. And but really at the end of the day, I am a mom. I am a girl who went on a journey of like not believing in herself and learning how to believe in myself and how to trust myself, and really just someone who kind of spent my whole life doubting I'm enough and am on this journey of knowing I'm enough, and just honored to share it. And I think a big part of what you guys do and how you show up, just to say this right out of the gate, I think it inspires millions of women, including myself, to feel less alone and more enough, and also to laugh our butts off and all the things. And I just want to say you guys,
you're so kind, and it's so timely we're having this conversation, because not only is your book launching at the end of February and people can buy it everywhere, right? End of February, am I right on that?
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna have heart. I literally just got heart palpitations when you said that. Yeah, it's Feb 23rd. So Feb 23rd, and it's called Believe It. And it's 95% of the stuff I've never shared before, but
Nat has a million questions about the girlfriends and the things. I want to tell you, yesterday we did a kind of just a chat with women who are in transition, and it was just to get on live and be like, let's talk about, like, you have vision boards, but what's stopping you from actually thinking you can do it. And we knew what their answer would be, but we wanted them all to see what their answers would be. And we said, who's your biggest critic? And you can guess who they said. I'm assuming it was themselves. It was them. It was, them sitting there and being like, I am my biggest critic. And you just said you got 1 million no's. Like, is this a
I love your mug. It's my book.
Listen.
Is this a woman thing? Is this a man thing? Is this a learned thing? You obviously went through it.
But somehow going through with all those no's, which a lot of these women are like, if I heard that many no's, I would just quit. How the heck do you deal with all those no's and then continue to believe in it?
Yeah. First of all, thank you for asking that question, because I think when we share these no's and we share this rejection, again, back to what you guys do every single day, helps everyone feel less alone. So thank you for even asking that. I think this is huge, because when you Google my story, you don't see that. You just see like a fairy tale Cinderella story. And I realized from getting so many DMs on Instagram that, women think like, oh, did you just have connections, or did you just get lucky, or did you? And I'm like, no. And a big part of the journey was handling the no's and how. So thank you for asking that. Yeah, just to use, I guess, one quick story that's an example of this, that maybe, because I think everybody listening right now probably has rejection in some form. And then how do you handle your own inner critic from like not taking over, right? I think when we listen to our own inner critic, and when we turn the volume up on that instead of learning how to turn it down, I think we end up literally talking ourselves out of our own truth and our own calling and our own purpose in this life. And so I think one of our greatest journeys, literally every human being, and especially every woman, and doubly now that I'm a mom, because I've been CEO of a $1 billion company and I've been a mom. Being a mom is harder. Hands down.
Listen to that, ladies. Listen to that. $1 billion company. Mom is harder.
Mom is harder. And I also noticed since being a mom too, which I love that you guys talk about this a lot, but my inner critic has gotten louder, and comparison, all those things that every human being deals with, I think gets doubled down on us when we become a mom. And so I think learning how, and I talk about this a lot in Believe It, this idea of how do you turn down the volume? Like I imagine, Cat Nat, this imaginary volume dial, literally in my own head. When I hear my inner critic come out that says, Jamie, you're not qualified, or you're not enough, or you're all these things, I have to literally imagine myself turning, or by the way, sometimes it's our partner. Sometimes it's our friends and family who love us. Sometimes it's our kiddos. Sometimes it's whoever. They mean well, but they say something like, are you sure you should quit your job and go after that? Or what do you know about doing that? Or, all the things, right? And they mean well, but I've learned to like literally imagine this volume dial, and I turn down the volume on that. And I have to, and this is a daily thing, by the way, still to this day, I have to like intentionally imagine myself turning up the volume on other words that replace those words that I know are true, even when they're hard to believe. Like, oh, you might have no experience in beauty, Jamie, but you're gonna figure this out. Like you've always figured it out, or you're gonna work hard, or you're not gonna let no stop you. All those things, right? And I try to just turn up the volume on those things. And I think every single person in our daily lives needs to do this, because what I think happens is we end up, right? So when I went on this 3-year journey of hearing no's, the first 3 years of my company, and we got down to under $1,000 in our bank account, which was personal and company combined. And I was like, I kept feeling in my intuition like this, I was supposed to be doing this. Like I was supposed to be creating this makeup company that solved my own skin problems and also helped to shift culture around the kind of images we see for beauty. And I just had this big dream, and it kept feeling right. But sometimes like we start to second guess our own gut when there's no proof around us that we're right. And so for 3 years, it was like all the no's, all the beauty experts like Sephora and all the department stores and QVC, they all said, no, you're not the right fit. We don't want to bet on you. We don't think you'll make us money, right? All those things. And when you have experts telling you they don't think you're going to make it. And then you have, there's no proof around you that you're going to make it. And then you have friends and family worried about you. At the end of the day, learning how to turn down the volume on all that, including your own self-doubt, and like hearing your own gut. For me, I've done a million things wrong in my journey. And I share all those too in the book. But like one of the things I did right was I learned to hear my own gut, and I made the decision to trust myself when it said keep going. I'm supposed to be doing this. And that changed everything.
I feel like a lot of people, they fail, or they try and they fail. And then they're like, well, I don't have it in me to do more. They just feel so crushed by failing. And, Kat and I, sometimes we joke because we were never, super successful, like in school or in any of the traditional things where other people were shining. So we're like, every time something doesn't work out for us, we're almost like we have great practice in failing. We're like, if something really turns out well, we're like, well, this is new. This is very exciting. But when you say like you learned how to like trust your gut, I think that like that inner, it feels like it can be such a small thing inside you, and people want to tune into that and they want to hear it. It's like in their mind, they know what they have is a great idea, but they need to they don't know how to do it.
Is there a
feeling? Their gut.
Is there a feeling in your, what's the gut?
How did you find it?
Yeah. Oh gosh. Okay. I'm so excited to share a thought with you really fast. I have a question for you, if it's okay to ask. Do you guys think that part of like what you do now and why you're so successful everywhere, which I'll just say that about you because it's true. Do you feel like you're not afraid to fail, and that's a big part of it? And that's a big part of it.
I think it's sort of our detriment too, because we also are shocked when we're successful. And I think that when you learn, I dropped out of high school, when you learn to not be afraid or ashamed of what or who you were, you let go of all these expectations. Like so many people are afraid to say, I can't afford it. I just can't afford it. Like, I don't have the money. Like I can't go out for dinner because I have no money in my bank account. Like all these secrets that we've been taught to keep or not share, I'm having a hard time with my husband, right? I'm not, but like, all these things where
spread rumors.
No, like it's like you have to constantly front yourself. And I think that we're gifted at our gift is being okay with our flaws.
But I also think that although they were traditional failures, I think what it sort of showed us is that we don't have to follow the path where everybody else is successful. Like I remember when I wasn't going to be able to afford to go to university, which is, you guys call it college, but not a community college, university. I couldn't afford unless I took out loans. And I also didn't have the marks to get in. And I remember someone saying to me, like, you're never going to get a job if you don't go to university. And I was like, I remember thinking to myself, I don't necessarily think that's true. I think I can be successful and not have to go spend all that money for the 4 years and maybe study something that may or may not apply to a job or something I want to do in the future. And so like the failures that look like failures to other people were sometimes just like if they were successes in other ways,
Totally. And one thing you just said too that's so powerful is that when that person told you that, you already knew that they were wrong. You had that feeling. Like you knew, right? So you trusted yourself in that, which I think is huge. And one thing before I forget, oh my gosh, then I want to share something. This is so big, what you just said about failing, I think too, and just sharing too that like for all of us, right? Because I'm part of your community too, and appreciate you, everything, how you guys show up in the world so much. But for me and everyone else part of your community right now, like listening to this, I think this is huge because you watching your success and your impact and all the things in real time, and then hearing that you're not afraid to fail, right? I think this is so big because when you look at like all the research, it shows even women, it should, like so many studies show that women won't ask for a raise until they meet 100% of the qualifications, or won't ask for a promotion, whereas men it's 60%, right? When they meet about 60% of the qualifications, they'll ask for a raise or they'll ask for a promotion or apply for a job. And for women, it's 100%. And it's because from the time we're little, we become sort of people pleasers, perfectionists a lot of times. And also we're scared to fail, and we wait until we think we're going to have it perfect to go, take the dream and take the big step and launch the thing. And I feel like that is such a disservice because we end up literally never stepping into the person we're born to be. We end up staying in our comfort zone, like letting it chip away at our soul. And you guys are living, breathing examples. And I hope and pray I am too, because I've been oh my gosh, there's been so many things where I've been like, you know what? It's because I wasn't afraid to fail over and over and over. And I wasn't afraid to get rejected over and over and over and over, that this eventually happened, right? And you know, one big thing that that stands out to me is, you know, we were a couple years into our company and just hearing no's from everyone. I didn't know that one day the company would be a success, but I just kept having this feeling, kind of like when you just described, the person said, oh, you need to go to university to make it. And you're like, oh no, I don't think so, right? I just kept having this feeling that I was supposed to be doing it. But I didn't know how we were going to survive. And a couple years into the business, we got a call from a potential investor. And I was so excited because we were down to no money. And this investor ran this big private equity company, and they invested in all of these consumer product companies that we all buy in the grocery store, like big names and they invested in a lot of them when they were teeny tiny before anyone knew them, and made them in household names. And I was freaking out because I'm like, oh my gosh, if they invest in our company, A, I'm not going to go bankrupt. B, maybe they can use their leverage to get us into these stores that are telling me no. I was so excited, and we started the meetings, and meeting after meeting, and we got to the diligence phase, which is where we show them, future product launches and projections and all that. And it came down to the last meeting, and I thought it was the day my life was going to change. And I'll never forget, my husband and I flew up for the meeting, and we were standing there about 3 feet away from the head guy. And he thanked us, and he said, we really love your product, but it's a no. We're going to pass on investing in It Cosmetics, right? Aww. And I sat there and I said, okay, can you tell me why? Can you give me some feedback? Because feedback's usually a gift. And I'll never forget this moment in my life. It was a defining moment. And I think so many people will be able to relate to this, because we all have these moments in different ways. But when I asked him, like, oh, why is it a no? You know, he looked at me and he's like 3 feet from my face. And he said, do you want me to be really honest with you? And I said, yes, please. And he said, I just don't think women will buy makeup from someone who looks like you with your body and your weight.
Oh my God. Oh
You're
my God.
freaking lying.
Oh my God.
And I sat there, and it was wild because for me, a lifetime of body doubt, like flooded my body all at once. And I was watching these words come out of his mouth. 2 things happened though. And this is your story reminded me of this story. 2 things happened in that moment. I mean, listen, I went to my car and bawled my eyes out. I had to figure out how to not replay those words over and over forever. But in that moment when he's literally 3 feet from me saying those words, I remember, like, distinctly, I remember having this feeling in my gut, like deep down inside, like, he's wrong. Just like what you just said about university, I was like, he's wrong. And I knew it, I felt it. And I also realized, oh, wow, this dude is passing on investing in my company because he's just as much, I don't want to say a victim, but impacted by the whole beauty industry too, that tells you to look a certain way to make money, right? So it fueled me more to keep going. And one last thing to share, just because I think, like, it's fun when we share our victories too, is 6 years later, the day L'Oreal acquired It Cosmetics, they did a big press release, so it went everywhere when the day I sold my company. And it was all over the homepages of Wall Street Journal and everywhere. And I hadn't heard from him in 6 years. And I actually got an email from him, and he said, congratulations, from that investor, the guy that said no. Yes. He said, congratulations, I'm so happy for you. I was wrong. And wow. Yeah. And this is the cool part about life, is I learned, like, it would have been the most successful investment in his firm's history, but also Cat Nat, I'm telling you, there's a famous saying, rejection is God's protection, which you could also say rejection is the universe's protection, right? It applies differently for everybody. But, like, had he not rejected me, I was so desperate at the time, I probably would have given him the majority of the company for almost no money, and thought and been grateful, because he didn't believe in me, even though it sucked at the time. It was so painful. Fast forward 6 years, we were still the biggest shareholders of the company when we sold it. So it was like life changing. So thank God he didn't believe in me at the time. And anyways, sometimes we get these rejections and they suck, but like, I try to keep that faith.
I think it's so important to remember, though, too, that failure and rejection aren't like, just because you can handle it doesn't mean you don't feel it. So you can totally feel like you can get it. It can get you down. And that, I think a lot of people think that, you know, rejection and failure, when you have gone through it, you're kind of like, I'm immune to it. It's fine. It's good. No, you can still definitely, but how do you move through it?
And if you don't feel it, you don't grow from it, right? Like if you don't feel anything, you might be a little bit too medicated or something, but you have to feel.
That's okay.
You got to be able to still feel. And yeah, to be able to feel it, exactly. If you were just like not feel it and carry on, you wouldn't have learned that wasn't the right person for you. And that wasn't the person that was going to put forth your company the way you wanted it to be, because you absolutely needed to be the leader of this company for it to be the way that to sell the way that it did, and do so well. And if they had put, you know, who knows who you would have put in your place.
I love that you share that it's okay to feel it. Cause even to this day, I feel it. I feel hurt to this now. Anytime I get rejected, or anytime like a friend doesn't show up for me how I hope they would, or you know what I mean? I mean, to this day, it like will destroy me inside. And I think it's good to share those things, because I think a lot of people are embarrassed when they sob their eyes out for days, or they feel like it's a weakness. I don't think it is. I think
or
it's
when you get rejected, that feeling of rejection is like, you know, it's ironic you share that story, because we were out in LA for TV and we got a huge deal in February. Fast forward, and
it was a year ago. It was the best call
agents were like, this is unheard of. This doesn't happen. Our agent at WME called us, you know. Fast forward to April, the deal's done because of life's COVID, you know, all the circumstances, maybe.
Or protection.
Yep. Or protection. And it was like it was like, what? You know, it was another knock, but it's, again, it fueled us to go, all right, where can we go next? How can we call? So I think the feeling, what I love about what your book and what you're talking about, and, you know, everyone needs the book, because women often, you see someone who has an idea and then you see the success, right? So I actually use Sarah Blakely as an example, who I don't know much about, but mad respect, because she obviously started it in her university room, Spanx from here to there. But her story is, you see that she had the idea, and then you see her building of, like, you know, success, and the in between. Everyone can say, I had hardships, it was really hard, I had no's, but when you can't relate to the story of a man sitting there and telling you to your face the reason you're not successful, it's very easy in your own brain, because storytelling is what brings us all together. When you can actually take the humanity in someone's story, then you can relate it to yourself and say, well, I can maybe do that, because maybe your mom or dad used to say that to you, that, you know, that's a pipe dream. It's never going to happen. Get a real job. So the fact that you take these real life examples, and you also have your friend stories in the book.
Jamie, so, okay. So we got your book. I have probably read maybe 5 books in my life, including the one we wrote. Like, I am not a very good reader. I have all intentions of sitting and reading. So as soon as I got it, I looked for the audio book and it wasn't out yet. So I was like, shit. So I said, Mom, my mom would read it in a day. And so I gave it to her. At the time, she knew who you were. She like loves you, Natalie. She says, you have to read this book. You're gonna love it. I know you don't read books, but this book you're gonna love. She's telling me all about your girlfriends, and let me tell you all about their past and where they are now. Look at the picture, Natalie. It's like this. She's like, you take this book, Natalie, and you sit on your ass and you read this book. But when my mom was telling me about your girlfriends and all of you, like, I was wondering, did a lot of your like belief in yourself and your company and building, were those girls there to like cheerlead you on, and was that helpful, or were they less important because they were busy doing their own thing?
Yeah, I feel like who we surround ourselves with, right, is so important in terms. I should qualify that. Who we turn the volume up on in our lives, so important, right? So the two of you, I turn the volume up on, right? Intentionally, meaning like I actually am a more confident woman and mom because of your show, right? Because of the content you guys put out.
Nice.
And so I want to say this because I think, you know, and I share some of how I brought different women into my life and they're so different. They have different faiths, different backgrounds, different, they vote different, they love different, all the stuff, right? But like the commonality is they authentically want the best for me. You know what I mean? And they'll call me out on my own BS but they authentically want the best for me. And I think, you know, a big lesson I learned talking about friends and girls and all that, you know, I talked for the first time, oh my gosh, I'm actually have heart palpitations about this because there's so many stories I've never shared before that I'm sharing in this book, but I'm only doing it because, to your point, when we share stories, it's sometimes how we connect and we realize, oh, this is possible, or oh, here's how to navigate that, or oh, I'm not alone in this. And one of the seasons I went through when it comes to girlfriends, which was hard, was I thought that some of the women, you know, some of the other women brand founders around me were friends in the QVC green room, and a lot of them were by the time we finally got a shot on QVC. And when our brand started taking off, because we were so under the radar and barely selling anything for so many years, and all of a sudden women started spreading the word and getting the product in their hands and posting their own befores and afters online. And we started doing really, really well on QVC. And I realized, oh gosh, not everyone is happy for you when you do, really, really well. You know, they see it through the lens of their own fear, right? And I went through really
hear that last statement, Jamie. That's like the most important statement you can make on girls and friendships and women, is that it's often not you. And you know, we try to steer clear of jealousy, of the word jealousy amongst our daughters, because that word is almost like, oh, they're just jealous, and that's a really easy excuse. But really, it's because they don't know themselves well enough to know that feeling that they're feeling, that it makes them insecure, because you know yourself well. So we turn to this feeling of wanting to kind of be mean because it's a natural response. But what you're saying is it's their own fear.
And they don't feel comfortable and safe watching someone else be so successful, for the fear that maybe it won't happen to them if it happens to you, which we all know is not the case.
Exactly. Exactly. And when we're going through it, though, it's hard. There were times where there was a really small group of 3 other women, and they started really bullying me. I'd never experienced that in my life. And it was really tough. And I'm in my 30s, right? I was in my 30s and was dealing with this while trying to go on air and sell my products live on TV. And there's all this bullying in the green room. And it was a really tough season. And I used to just leave QVC and just like sit in my car and sob for like an hour, all my makeup off, until I could finally like take a deep breath and drive to the hotel room and get an hour of sleep and come back for another show. And it was really a tough season. And I came out of it though with a big lesson, I think. And I think this is huge for anyone dealing with comparison, because it's so easy on social media to see, oh, what everyone else is doing, or especially as a mom, so many people look like a perfect, like all these things. And when we only see that, we're like, oh, am I a bad mom? Oh, all the things, right? And in this journey, and in one of the big kind of stories and lessons I talk about in the book, I go super granular on it, and I won't do that here, but just the season of having mean girls, mean adult grown women, and going through it and having them see me, exactly what you just said, see my success as a threat to their own, and going through all that. How I came out of it in a big way was this realization, and I believe this to my core, that like, we are not here to compete with anyone else. We're here to compete with the only person we're here to compete with is like literally the person we know we're born capable of becoming. And I knew that person, like I had this big epiphany where I'm like, oh, like that's the victory, is becoming the person we know we're capable of becoming. Anything else is a distraction, and anyone else is, and even I started applying these principles to my business, because as we were growing, we built to over 1,000 employees in our company, and it was wild. And I was so blessed to hire people way smarter than I am. But I also hired a lot of people that came from the beauty industry. And they were trained to show me all the data on what other brands are doing and what other brands are launching and what's selling in the marketplace. And I learned this lesson, A, that you can't fake authenticity. And B, I would tell my employees until they were so sick of this saying, but I would always say to them, our biggest threat to our business isn't our competition. It's if we ever get distracted by it and have it tempt us to dilute our own secret sauce. Because once you start diluting your own authenticity of like the person you're born to be, that's the biggest recipe for failure. And one of the big things I talk about in the book is me learning this and seeing it play out before my eyes, because I've now met tens of thousands of entrepreneurs and gotten to watch which ones make it and which ones don't. And the biggest thing I've learned is that authenticity alone doesn't guarantee success, but inauthenticity guarantees failure. And why your TV deal is going to come back bigger and stronger is because y'all show up fully authentically. And that's why it's freaking magic. And that's why it inspires women like me, because I feel less alone, because you're so authentic in all the stuff, the good, the bad, the funny, all of it, right? And it's like when people get that own lesson, and so few people get it because they show up as their representative, who they think other people want them to be successful. And that just creates a barrier of disconnection between their community or their customers or their friends and partner.
Well, they're chasing a success based on someone else's authenticity, which doesn't make sense because it's not your authenticity. But when you begin to chase, like you say, you fail in the wrong ways. You're not failing in the authentic ways. So holy
and Jamie,
cow.
So you sold the company. You sold the company how many years ago?
3 years ago, 3.5.
Does that mean that, do you still work for the company?
Yeah. So what happened? So I agreed to stay on as the CEO of the company, and there's nothing financially holding me to it, but I gave them my word that I would stay for 3 years, and so it was pretty cool in the sense of, I started this scrappy business, couldn't afford to pay myself the first 3 years, as I shared, and had to do. Oh my gosh, I share all the crazy stuff in the book about like all the jobs I tried to do myself, and how when I couldn't afford to hire anyone, I was trying to just figure it all out, and all the stuff we did to do that. And so it was wild to then, be acquired by L'Oreal and see inside of this massive company. And it was a really cool experience. I felt underdressed every single day of my life. But it was this kind of like really wild moment where I was just like, wow. When I was waitressing tables at Denny's, I didn't imagine I would be inside of L'Oreal headquarters in Paris. And it was the coolest experience. So I gave them my word I would stay for 3 years. And I kept my CEO title at Cosmetics. So that meant that I was the first woman in their 100+ year history to hold a CEO title of any brand, which was really fun. And I learned a ton. And in 3 years.
How ironic is that? Yeah, you were the only CEO in cosmetics of a beauty brand.
That's a woman.
Well, I believe, that, what is that saying? Won't be the last. There's going to be a lot more because for sure.
So there should be,
Yeah.
So are you done there now?
Yeah. So we doubled the size of the business in the first 2 years after they bought it, and I ran it for 3 years. And then I just had this knowing. We talk about, and by the way, oh my gosh. Okay. So, when we started doing really, really well is when I started hearing from book agents and producers and stuff about my story. And I always had this feeling like I didn't want to do it unless I knew it would be authentic. And they're like, well, we can have a ghostwriter or whatever. And I always said no, because I was so focused on running the business. So I said no to meetings for 5 years. And about a year and a half ago, I just had this feeling like, okay, I'm supposed to give or serve at a whole new level and share everything I've gone through. Because what I've learned is like when we share that stuff, it's the most fulfilling when you have like even right now, I'm doing an insider kind of launch group for the book. And so a few people, just like your mom, are starting to read the book. And I'm getting messages of women saying like, oh my gosh, this week I made the decision to trust myself and it worked. And I'm just like sobbing at my computer. This is where I get my greatest joy and my greatest fulfillment. And so I decided to step away. Because sometimes knowing when to let go of a dream is as important as knowing when to go after one, right? And I just had this knowing that it's time to just, hopefully, God willing, use everything I've gone through to hopefully be of service to somebody else. And so I sat in my house all alone and sobbed my eyes out and binge ate Lucky Charms and wrote every word in the 80,000 words in the book. And
are you always
yeah.
this calm? You always I feel like you're the most soothing.
Yeah,
like
you are. You're relaxing.
So relaxing and happy. Yeah, like such a gentle, positive energy. It's so love. Is that always?
I mean, I think I'm the kind of person where I always show up loving. I'm probably always underestimated for that reason, because like inside I'm like so on fire.
Okay.
But like I don't waste a second of my life judging or you know what I'm saying? Like I just
we have no judgment over here. We don't believe no judge. No, we cannot judge over here. We do not judge. That is the worst thing we could do over here.
Jamie, I am going to freaking start this book tonight. Now I feel like I have a million other questions, but I mean I am sure that we will meet in person and then we will I don't know if you drink, but I will.
Yes, I do. I literally, okay, so this coffee mug is coffee, but I would say like I fill more coffee. I love wine in my coffee mugs. My husband's like, why don't you use a wine glass? And I'm like, I feel like it tastes better in a coffee mug. So
I'm tip over as easily or break.
Exactly. And then my daughter goes, coffee, mama, coffee. I'm like, mm-hmm.
I love it. I want to know so much more about you, but
so homeschool has ended and I'm getting inundated with phone calls of exactly where I am because God forbid I leave for more than 45 minutes. God. Are your kids in school yet? They're too young, right?
Too young. Yeah. We went on this big journey. It was like 10 years of not being able to have kids. And I went through this whole thing and kind of in parallel to building the company. So I talk about that for the first time too, the whole surrogacy process and adoption process, all of that. But yeah, we have our daughter named Wonder, who is 2, and then our little nugget, our little guy Wilder, who is just turned 9 months.
So that you shared that journey on social media too. It was just like,
I feel like that went really fast. By the way,
I know that time flew.
I know, right? I know, it's so fast.
Okay, everyone can find you at your website.
Do you have a podcast?
No.
What?
You know
but if I ever do, I'm going to be like begging you guys to be on it. Because
we'll consider it. We're very busy over here. I think we might be able to come on.
I mean, if you ever have time, you need one because I swear, just the your
voice is like what I would listen to.
Your
I hear what you're saying.
Like even it's like. You could do 12. I think Oprah did like 12, and that was like you could just do a series and it's amazing.
She could also do like a calming one, like like Harry Styles has the one that all your talents. So your website, where can they find everything?
Yeah. So so JamieKernLima.com. I'm on Instagram the most probably of any platform at Jamie Kern Lima. And the book, which is in Canada and the US, but the book we're doing on BelieveIt.com is probably the best place because the book's called Believe It, and then BelieveIt.com will take you to all the retailers. Like there's independent bookstores, Target, Amazon, all the places.
Can they pre-order?
Yes, you can. And if you pre-order, there's all these free gifts, actually. Thank you, guys. See, you're the pro authors. I'm the rookie author. So
girl,
what are the gifts?
Yeah, what are the gifts?
Oh, yeah. So if you pre-order it anywhere, you can grab it anywhere it's sold. And then if you go to BelieveIt.com, so I did my first ever course called Becoming Unstoppable, How to Overcome the Things Holding You Back. And you get that for free. And I also wrote this, it's like it ended up being 95 pages action plan, how to implement all the lessons from the book, like into your real life. So you get that for free too. It's all on BelieveIt.com. And I don't know, I've just read so many books where I feel like, oh, they're so great, but like, how do I apply that to my life? And how do I, you know what I mean? So I really wanted to.
Doing a lot of what people do is empty empowerment, but through storytelling and action plans. No, through action plans, you're actually helping them implement their own action plan. So they're not just stuck with, I love this idea, but what do I do? So what a
What do I
gift for
do?
people. What a gift. Wow.
Yeah, and
Is there an audio?
there will be. It doesn't come out till Feb 23rd. There will be though.
Is it your voice?
It is. Yeah, I read it. Yeah,
Wasn't that fun to record? We loved doing the audiobook.
Did you? Yeah, I was literally crying in the booth. I'm like, oh my gosh, because some of the stories are really crazy. So it's yeah, there's some real crazy stuff in this book. And so yeah, and I love that. And the other thing too, just to share is this helps drive me, but it's also just such a hard season for so many people. So I'm donating 100% of the proceeds from the book to Together Rising, which is Glennon Doyle's charity, and then also Feeding America. So 100% of author royalties and proceeds, and it's all being donated. And I'm literally just doing this because I feel like so many people are literally just inundated with self-doubt, and like they know they're made for more, but they doubt it anyways. And it's really a book about how do you believe in yourself and trust yourself.
Here's what
you're enough.
Going to do. They're going to buy the book. They're going to share the book on their socials, because the power of social and Instagram is totally insane. The proceeds go back to amazing causes. Jamie, thank you for taking time. We know these media junkets and podcasts are exhausting because you have to show up for a series of hours. And thank you for showing up 100% and giving us your time and your smiles and your conversations. It means so much to us. And this book is right in the wheelhouse of all of our moms, because the fact that most of them go to bed wondering what they've done wrong in the day and why they can't do more right is what exactly they all need right now. So thank you so much.
Cannot wait to have mug wine with you one day in real life.
I put ice in my wine, by the way, but I love it.
I love it. Yeah, and thank you for that. Anyone that posts, I'll repost too. And I'm super grateful. So thank you so much. I love both of you. And it's an honor to be in your community as like one of your champions. So thank you for everything you do.
Just the beginning. Yeah, we can't wait. And just thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye, Jamie.
Bye, Jamie.